so I've told people that I was trained to kind of handle things when people would ask me questions very diplomatically, because my sisters would be like, which one of us do you like the most? Which one of us is the prettiest? Or whatever. And so you have to learn how to handle. That's a loaded question.
That's super loaded. That got your political career started right there.
Yeah, absolutely. So I certainly was answering tough questions right from the get-go.
Each day at Wesley Meadows is a new opportunity to serve older adults and reimagine retirement living. It is the heart of their mission that inspires their team to provide the kind of fun atmosphere and care the residents would want for themselves. Experience the warm spirit and faith-based difference of Wesley Meadows. Call 662-429-2070 and schedule your visit today. Hello and welcome to the Real Hernando podcast, presented to you by Wesley Meadows Retirement Community and SRP Studios. The Real Hernando podcast was created to spotlight Hernando's nonprofit organizations and community leaders by sharing their stories and what led them to serve for their community. We hope these stories help strengthen the fabric of the city we love so near and dear, the Real Hernando.
That's right. Absolutely.
Please follow us at therealhernando.com for all of our channels and social media platforms. I am your host, Derek, and today's guests are Hernando Ward 4 Alderman Chad Wicker and Ward number 6 Alderman Ben Piper. That was supposed to be asked in pre-production. All good. And they are the co-hosts of a wildly popular and expertly produced
very good producer
podcast called The Boardroom. The podcast comprehensively reviews local government in Hernando, Mississippi, and the surrounding areas. The show features 2 sitting Hernando aldermen discussing issues in front of the board and interviewing local government leaders. The podcast aims to provide information and perspective on the issues facing Hernando. Chad, Ben, thanks for being here, y'all. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for having us, man. We appreciate it.
Yeah, so, there's some context here. I met you, last year, early last year.
Yeah, well, I think I saw you at a ribbon cutting when you first got to town, and I think we connected. And
that was actually February of 21.
Yeah, and we went and had lunch, I think, one time, and we talked threw the idea around of maybe doing something.
Yes, February 22.
Yeah,
right.
Yes.
And then we went to our favorite Bonchibo.
That's right. And, I ate there yesterday. With my buddy Brian Couch. We had lunch there yesterday.
Yeah, man, it's good stuff. I love their chips too. But even way back then, you told me you were interested in starting a podcast, and then over time it happened, which we'll get more into detail on. The genesis of the podcast and your sponsor and what it's like working with you guys. I promise positive. And Ben, man,
absolutely.
It's good working with you too. I met you obviously through Chad. And,
well, I remember we met real briefly at like a quarterly chamber luncheon, and I think you had just kind of moved to the area and we're just getting started. And all I remember is like from New Jersey or somewhere up in the Northeast, and that you were here to do podcasts, and that was Maine, right?
Yes.
Maine. And I was just like, what in the world is this guy do? Like,
I remember that.
I certainly had heard a podcast. We were sitting there with some other folks from town, and I was just like, this is interesting. This guy's doing something different that we certainly hadn't seen in DeSoto County before. So it was pretty exciting.
That was my first luncheon, and I remember all of that. I remember sitting at your table, but what you're forgetting is Siboney, our head director, our executive director for the chamber, Siboney Swatzina, calls out the new members to stand up. So she calls me up, and I just took a massive bite of food. So I stand up,
it always works like that.
And everyone got it, and they understood. I just stood up, and I got my hand in front of my mouth trying to finish what I'm eating. It was funny. But so I remember that was my first introduction. I had a mouthful of chicken.
That's right.
So, well, great. This is going to be a mixture of, obviously, the podcast. We're here to promote your podcast because I think it's awesome for the community. I really enjoy listening it. I can separate as your producer to listen to it as a community member, and it's really good and educational. But also I want to make this get to know your alderman.
Sure.
So
Also, I think, this is the smallest form of government, correct?
That's right.
It's as granular as you can get in terms of local government. So.
I think that's the closest you can get. I think.
Yeah.
It is.
So great. So again, thanks for being here. Let's start with family and where you're from. And so Chad,
you go first. I'll go first.
Sure.
So I moved to my mother and my brother and my twin sisters. We moved to Hernando in I think 1997. I was going into the 8th grade, and we've been here ever since. So
where are you from?
Originally from northern Louisiana, a little town called Bastrop, Louisiana.
That's where the accent comes from.
Yeah, I didn't have an accent. What are you talking about, man? No, and so. My mother was in the casino business, and so she relocated to here to work in Tunica. And then she retired from there several years ago. But and so I grew up from 8th grade on in the Hernando High School. Coach Casey, my baseball coach, who's now the principal. So.
Yeah, you played a lot of sports.
Baseball, right? Soccer, football a little bit. Coach, we found out Mr. Elson didn't think I was much of a basketball player, so I didn't.
Yeah, we're gonna get into that. Your nickname is Balls and Strikes.
That's right. So anyway, what I say is my whole adult life I've been in Hernando. I for a short time went to Northwest for 2 years in Ole Miss. I came back, and then started working in the DeSoto County Sheriff's Department in the jail. And over the 4 or 5 years, I worked my way up to the director. So I'm currently in charge of the detention facility for DeSoto County. I've been doing that since I've worked at the DeSoto County Sheriff's Department since 2006, and so I've been the director since 2011. So what's that? 12 years now, something like that.
Yeah,
I've ran the jail essentially. So I'm the jail guy.
Strong career.
So that's everybody knows me really. Before I got into city government, everybody knew me as a jail guy, and so that's what
they stayed away from you, didn't they?
Somebody goes to jail, they call me and ask me how things go. We get a lot of questions like that. Which our jail, we have a great group of employees there, do a great job. Mm-hmm. A lot of people don't, when they think about law enforcement or sheriff's department, they don't really think about the correction side and what all those guys do. And we have a great team that does a great job. Our facility is far succeeds anything else in the state.
So the facility that's right near the square is now juvenile, correct?
Yeah, so the sheriff's department originally was located just off the square on South Street there, which I guess would be just south of the square, a block south. And then as the county has grown, as the sheriff's department grew over the years, we needed to expand. And so the first thing that we built was the new detention facility down there on Industrial Drive, kind of at Hernando's Industrial Park. Mm-hmm. We built that in 2012. And then about, I think, 14 or 15, we built we took an old building, renovated it, made that a sheriff's office department, and moved our entire operations off the square. Mm-hmm. And then in 2015, we built an expansion on the jail. So we have a capacity of 568 prisoners in the adult jail.
Wow.
And then, so what? Only thing that the sheriff's department has left here on the square is the juvenile facility, which will hold 38 kids right now. But we're in the process of doing an expansion to get that up. We're renovating some of the older part of the jail to get it. Unfortunately, we need some bed spaces for the.
Yeah, it's a bummer. Expansion's usually good, right, for business, right. But it's different when you're needing to expand.
Yeah, well, it's just the population has grown. I think about 200,000 people live here, something like that now. I think
a little bit less than that.
Well, I mean, in DeSoto County, and
oh yeah, absolutely.
Now in Hernando, people think it's a big the way the traffic is.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So Ben Piper.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we have a special guest too. We have your daughter.
We do.
Biddy.
Yeah, this is our youngest of 3, Ramsey.
Yeah.
We have.
I'm not 3. I'm 4.
I know you're 4. You're the youngest of our 3 kids. That's what I was telling them.
We're recording this early morning on a Friday, and
absolutely.
This is a family-friendly environment for sure.
It is.
Got a big stretch in.
Yeah, big stretch.
Biddy was here for a recording of the Boardroom once.
Yeah, she's my little travel companion sometimes. Just depending on what's going on each day. But
so tell us more about yourself, then.
Yeah, I grew up in kind of the Stone Mountain area in Georgia. If you know where Stone Mountain is, just kind of in the Atlanta suburbs. A lot of my family lived in that area for a long time. My dad worked at Delta corporate headquarters for 40 years, and my mom was worked in the county school system there. And grew up most of my life in Georgia.
You probably laugh at when people around here complain about traffic, right? You're used to that.
Yeah, I mean,
you're used to that Atlanta traffic.
I learned how to drive on Interstate 285, which is, kind of like Talladega. There's bump drafting, and you better make sure you got plenty of gas when you get on it, because you might run out if you get in a bad traffic jam. But yeah, absolutely. But went to school at University of Mississippi and met my wife there. My wife was originally from South Haven and grew up in the Greenbrook neighborhood there, and was a Greenbrook Gator, and graduated from South Haven High School. We met at Ole Miss, and we got back to DeSoto County as quickly as we could once we finished school and got jobs up here. So, bought a house in 2011 in Hernando, had no kids. Now we have 3 kids that are, 10, 7, and about to be 5 later on this month.
Gigi.
I know. So we got some birthdays coming up, which is always fun.
When's your birthday?
April 24th.
Happy early birthday. How about
April
that?
24th.
Yeah. So,
It's about to be my brother's birthday.
yeah, brother's birthday's tomorrow. He'll turn 7. So, so we stay. We've got a lot going on. Busy month, but just that they're really my motivation for getting involved in kind of local politics, and certainly want to see the community that they grow up in to be a safe place, and have good people running the city.
So let's talk about the Board of Aldermen. Is that how you say it? Is that the right way to say it?
Yeah, Board of Aldermen.
Yeah.
Board of Aldermen.
Our board of alder persons, because we have women as well.
This is true.
Yeah, I think that's technically yes.
The Board of Alderman Peoples. And as anyone that's been following this podcast since the beginning, this isn't about politics. We had Mayor Johnson on here before, and it was just about the person, and I'd like to do that for y'all too. But we can tap into, what was the driving force behind you wanting to step up and help the community by becoming an alderman? So, Chad, what was what's the story behind you
similar
joining?
Similar to what Ben said. I mean, I have my wife Shelby, and then I have 2 boys, Reeves and Grayson, and they're this is the community we're going to grow up in, and this is the community that I love. I grew up in, and I want to see it. There's certainly some challenges facing our community with the growth, and as the population continues to increase, and different things. There's a lot of challenges that we need to face, and I felt like I had the expertise to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd always been very interested in politics and followed the local politics. I worked in several different campaigns and things when I was younger, and then 2000. I guess it was 2017, Alderman Mike McClendon at the time asked me if I'd be his commissioner on the Planning Commission.
And so he's now a state senator.
Yes, that's right. And so I said, well, yeah, sure, I'll take a look at it. And I got appointed, and then started, coming to the planning meetings and starting to learn, some of the real issues we have with developments and how that affects people and things like that. So he getting close to the 2021 election, he kind of indicated he wasn't going to run again for a third term. He was just going to, because he was at the time he was doing both. He was a state senator and an alderman, and he's I think he made a decision that he was not going to continue to be an alderman. And I said, well, I think I'm going to try it out and see if I can bring some of my ideas to the table. And the 2 things that I thought was very important is what I kind of ran on was potholes and parks, right? That's what everybody complains about. That's the issues, right? So we're working on the potholes. We've over the last 2 years we've put a lot of money into infrastructure. We still have a lot of infrastructure challenges in this community, and not just Hernando, but in DeSoto County. We're working very hard, the legislature, to address the I-55. We got some funding for that this year, so we're excited about that.
Well, DeSoto County is fastest growing county, right? Or in the state, or I've heard stats like that it's just exploding.
Well, I've been told, I didn't fact check this, but if you take DeSoto County out of the population in Mississippi, the population in Mississippi dropped by instead of kind of maintaining, which is what it did in the 2020 census, if you take DeSoto County out, it would drop about 3%.
Yeah,
because
significant.
All the growth in Mississippi, it's hard for people to understand if you just stay in the DeSoto County bubble. If you get outside of DeSoto County, go to some of the counties in the Delta, or some of the counties in the northeastern part of the state, or some of the southwestern part of the state. there's some areas that are really struggling economically, and they have significant challenges. What I always say in Hernando and DeSoto County, we have good problems, right? We're kind of fighting over what business comes to Hernando instead of if a business is coming to Hernando, right? So, I know Ben's going to tell you in a minute how he's going to get the Chick-fil-A here. He's the chairman of that committee, the Chick-fil-A committee.
There's no Chick-fil-A. There's no Chick-fil-A committee.
But I guess
wish there was.
Well,
but
the
not.
Whataburger committee crushed it.
See, I was on that committee. I got that done.
Here we go.
That's
Here we
go.
go.
We put him on top of the Chick-fil-A committee. He's from Georgia. We thought he had a hookup there, but he couldn't get it going. But to answer your question, I care about the community and I want to see it do well. And I think I have some experience with being in the government for so many years as a jail and running that facility. Then with my educational background, I thought I could really try to help solve some of our challenges. And we're working on it. We're going to get there. We're working on our parks. We were able to get the parking lot paved at the soccer field, and I think we're working on finishing up buying the Hernando ballpark, and we're going to make some changes out there. So we're excited about it. I love Hernando and care about it deeply, and I think we're going in the right direction. And sometimes me and Ben vote different, or me and some of the other aldermen vote different. Me and the mayor have different issues, but we all truly care about Hernando, and we just maybe argue about the way to make it what we think is.
That's what matters. You're not all going to agree on everything. It never works that way. It's just being a team, And I know you guys now pretty well. I know how much you care for this community.
Yeah, and sometimes we argue or at the meeting, but afterwards we're all we have. I think, Ben. I mean, I'm speaking for myself. I think we have a pretty close group of people that. We all get along great. So
we definitely have. I've mentioned it before. I think on the podcast and other people. We really have an interesting cross section of people on the board where you have people that are in their 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s. And the median age in Hernando is kind of in the high 30s, around 38 and a half or so. So we have people that kind of represent that median age, and then we have people that are more seasoned veterans that have a lot of experience, that have been on the board for a long time and seen Hernando grow exponentially over a long period of time, and have served over that period of time, and deeply understand the challenges. We have people from, that work in the public sector, like Chad. We have retirees. We have people that work in the private sector, that work in finance. So, you really have,
business owner.
Kind of a business owner. So it's really a wide range of experiences. Much like the community that we live in, there's people from all different walks of life. There's people that are in different phases of life. So for all of us to be able to try to work together, sometimes in harmony, sometimes not, but generally we work really well together.
Well, as a small business myself, I love Hernando. It's, when you niche down regionally to a city that's, I think, 17,000 plus right now.
Yeah. Well, so we think the census was a little undercounted, but that's what it was. Officially, we're 17,000.
Calm down, Chad.
Well, see, that's something we have to talk about because
he gets fired up.
But let me finish my point. Okay. When I started building this podcast, I researched, and there are probably 100 small businesses here, that are. Chad. Ben is
Sorry.
Ben is on daddy duty.
Yeah.
But this, go ahead. There's such a rich, market here for local business too, so that I can relate with that. So Ben had to step away here for a second. I'll get back to him. I'm interested in knowing when he joined.
Yeah.
But I want Ben here for the podcast too. So let's talk about youth sports.
Sure.
And I know that you and Ben are rightly involved with your own kids in sports, and also the parks in the city. So tell me a little more about that. Well,
so like I said, that was kind of my two big issues was potholes and parks. And the reason I care so much about the parks is I played on those baseball fields. I was involved. I umpired. That was my first job when I was 15 years old, was umpiring at the baseball field. And that's back when Mr. Danny Phillips ran the park system, or the baseball program, and he was my first boss, I guess. So we go way back, but that's why I care so much about it, because I know what the kids deserve, and I grew up playing baseball, travel baseball, and different things, and It's just so frustrating for a community or a town like the city of Hernando to have all the great things. I mean, like you said, small businesses, great atmosphere, the square, the town square, the historic town square, and then when it comes to the recreational facilities, we're just not there yet, and not from lack of trying. I think again we're trying to find the tax revenue to get it going and try to make it work. But that's what I'm so involved because I know what it can be and what youth sports is such an outlet to so many people.
I played 8 years of youth baseball, starting at age 8 up to 16. Coach pitch for a couple of years, and then senior little league, as that was called, then Babe Ruth League.
Yeah,
which was really fun. And I was a very introverted kid, shy, social anxiety, but having baseball, I played basketball as well. That forced me to be around other kids, in a different way that made it more comfortable for me. So that's how, that's why I appreciate youth sports too. Ben, that's where we kind of shifted to. And I know you're right involved too with soccer and your son
absolutely.
Too. Like you have sons
playing.
Yeah,
we play everything. So we, I help coach my daughter's basketball team, soccer team. We've done t-ball. We've done pretty much every sport that's offered. Tennis, we've got instructional volleyball league that's coming up. That's first year ever doing that. So there's a lot going on in the Piper household when it comes to, recreational, fun kind of things, because you want to keep your kids busy. And, one of the things that you learn from sports, I think it was like Michael Jordan's coach said one time that failure is success in progress. And I've always really loved that quote because it teaches kids that, when you don't, when you strike out, when you lose a game or whatever else, like, well, what do you learn from it, right? You learn from losses, and you learn from, failure, and then eventually it becomes successes, and then you become, you can overcome that, in your personal life or in your business life or whatever it is. So, there's a lot of lessons to be learned from it, and that's what we try to take away from, doing all that, but also just having fun and, trying to be healthy and, all the things that come with it.
I know, this day and age, everyone gets a trophy, in a lot of leagues, and I get it. I understand it. I'm not trying to get polarizing here. Yeah. But you bring up a good point. It is important to have to struggle and grow some adversity in losing, and understanding how to get back up and strive to then reach that ultimate
I think
goal.
sports is a great life lesson. I mean, you're gonna there's gonna be failure, there's gonna be success, like Ben was saying. And another thing with this generation of children who spend so much time on social media and on I think we were just talking about TikTok before we started. Yeah. Getting them all to put that down and participate and move and have activity, that's great. Mm-hmm. That's good. And Hernando Parks Department offers so many various programs. And we're working on facilities, we're still working on that, but I think we're going in the right direction, and we got some good leadership there now, and I think it's going in the right direction. So
that's awesome. The youth is important. But so Ben, just real quick, let's go back to the Aldermen. Tell us when you joined and what that was like, what the story behind that is.
Right. So I originally, kind of started this journey in 2017. Ran for the Board of Aldermen unsuccessfully as the Ward 3 Alderman. But I came, fairly close in that election and only lost by a few dozen votes. And so that really, encouraged me that what I was telling people when I was going door to door and kind of what my campaign was about, generated a lot of excitement. And, so it really encouraged me to continue to stay involved. Got involved in the local Republican Party, worked on some campaigns, and just kind of learned more about, kind of what the political networking is here in DeSoto County and also in Hernando, and try to get more involved, with chamber events and, local nonprofit, activity and that sort of thing, just to understand things better and meet more people and understand the needs better. And then ran again in 2021. and was fortunate enough to win a very close election. Had two really great opponents, two great men that I respect a ton, and we were all able to get along during the election, which is really, I think, unusual.
Yeah,
and people thought it was kind of unusual to see us the day of the election and also the day of the runoff.
We all singing "Kumbaya" too.
We actually all got together and said a prayer before the polls opened.
That's awesome.
And it was something that we were all. We were doing this because we were men of faith, and we felt like we were called to stand up and be leaders. And myself and Ryan Diffie and Dale Bellflower, all we were all doing it for the right reasons, and certainly wanting to represent the community well as men of faith. And so it was a great race. But since then, I think what my focus has been on is Ward 6, which the entirety of Ward 6 was annexed into the city. In 2007, 2008. And a lot of it, honestly, has not gotten a lot of attention from an infrastructure standpoint. There's a lot of roads that need to be paved. There's sewer upgrades that are needed. And
what's the region? Like what pocket of Hernando are you in?
So it's on the kind of the northeast corridor of Hernando. So it starts at the kind of Heritage Oaks area across from Hernando High School, goes north and catches Forest Meadows and Notting Hill, and then it sort of sweeps across kind of in a big like backward C almost, and goes up to the East Nesbitt area, and now includes the Winningham Estates neighborhood as well. So there's a lot of land to cover, but it includes that Mackinville corridor on 269 that is not really developed out yet, but certainly has a lot of potential to be developed out.
Well, I know Chad's ward, Ward 4,
because the heart of Hernando.
SRP Studios is the heart of Ward 4, which makes Ward 4 the heart of the city.
That's
Sorry,
right.
just maybe biased.
Yeah.
But so you have downtown, right?
I'm the downtown area, and then essentially, Elm to Robinson, and you get 51 right there, and then everything between 51 and Byhalia Road up to Doe Creek Trail is Ward 4. So it's kind of right in the middle of the map there. It's the smallest ward right now because it's just so many people there. But it'll start getting bigger when there's more people moving to the other areas. So
5M Services, your comfort specialists. We offer heating, ventilating, and air conditioning service. Call us for any of your HVAC needs. 662-560-7331. We are here for you 24/7.
Gustafson Properties. Gustafson Properties has been building beautiful custom homes in DeSoto County and surrounding areas for over 20 years. Are you ready to build your new custom home? Call us today at 662-449-6271.
Well, awesome. Well, I appreciate y'all sharing all that about your experiences as an alderman. But now, I'm just trying to get to my favorite moment in talking about your podcast. I mean, all right, finally there. So let's talk about the podcast. And just on the front end, to give people an idea, I've already, explained what it's about, but I listed out the guests that you've had up to date. You've had State Senator Mike McClendon, Tax Assessor Jeff Fitch, DeSoto County Superintendent Corey Usselton. Usselton.
Or we call him Coach U.
Okay, so DeSoto County Superintendent Coach U. Planning Director Austin Cardosi.
Yep.
I got that one right. And County Supervisor District 2, Mark Gardner. So, that's a good example and sample size of what y'all are trying to do here. As you can see, also it spreads through the county. This is Hernando, but DeSoto County is also, we take a lot of pride in our county as well. So you're hitting all corners here. So yes, we launched it early this year.
Yeah.
When
was that, February, I guess?
Yeah, somewhere in there. You guys record right here in SRP Studios.
Right.
Really, this is just a commercial for me.
Okay.
No. But so you guys do a great job. I was really impressed with how you guys just jumped in, got on the mics, and just immediately sounded professional. But Ben, you actually have a journalism background in Ole Miss, correct? Tell me a little more
correct.
about that.
Yeah, so majored in broadcast journalism and also political science, and helped run the I think it was called News Watch, which was our daily news show on campus. I was the sports director there for a couple of years, and we would film the football games and cut the highlights and do stories and just all the stuff that you would do at like a local news station. And then also wrote for the Daily Mississippian, which is the newspaper, and mostly just did sports more than anything else because that was what I really enjoyed more than anything else. And then when I graduated, my wife was in a doctoral program at Southern Miss at that time, and moved to Hattiesburg because we were getting married and starting a life together. And the only job that had anything to do with journalism at that time was at the Hattiesburg American, which was a newspaper there, and I was covering local news, which I'd never done at all. So I got a crash course in Mississippi. How Mississippi politics, how small towns, are run by a board of aldermen, and that kind of started that, my work journey a little bit. I have not worked at a newspaper in 12 years now, but that was kind of the start of my work career, and then just transitioned to sales and business after that. But
and now
certainly,
now you co-host a widely popular, expertly produced podcast.
An investigative reporter, man. What's the mayor of Petal says he's the reason he got elected. he dropped some corruption stories down there. I'm serious.
Hal Marks. Yeah, when he was elected mayor of Petal, there was a budget shortfall, and we uncovered that, and it was not a good time for the currently elected people. But
that is journalism, though. You're supposed you're not supposed to be friends with everyone. You're supposed to go places like that, right? That's part of your job.
So we go to MML conferences, and so I ran into this guy. I think he's the mayor. It's the Pirtle mayor, right? Mayor,
the mayor. Yeah, the mayor now is Tony Ducker, who was an alderman. He got elected as an alderman.
Yeah.
So
the first time I met him, I was like, I'm with her. He's always been Piper. Yeah, we got late. He's like, well, he's the reason we all got elected. He ran everybody else out of town. He's writing newspaper stories. I was like, oh wow. So,
that wasn't all true. I mean, that wasn't all true.
Yeah, watch this guy, man. He put the pen on it.
Let's not get controversial here.
It's certainly.
Is there a scandal here?
No, there's no.
Not in Hernando, but apparently there was something going on in Petal.
Yeah, but it was it was interesting because it was certainly you can understand, profit and loss, expense and revenue, and, watching that and watching it kind of play out, it was, heartbreaking for that community because it was, they're going through a difficult time. So I certainly think about that every time we set a budget, because ultimately what they had to do in that scenario, they had to lay people off because that was the only way they could balance their budget. Mm-hmm. Now, granted, this was in 2008, 2009. There was housing market collapse. The economy was in shambles. So there was a lot of huge challenges there that I think were probably unforeseen, to be fair. But every time we go in to set a budget, I think about those things. Just like, when we're putting these numbers on paper, it means people's jobs. It means their livelihoods as they work to, keep our streets safe or our homes safe. They help keep our roads in shape, our infrastructure. There are lives at stake here and livelihoods at stake, so we need to take this budget process extremely seriously.
You see how smooth Ben is? Mm-hmm. It went from being a co-host on podcast, journalist career, right to alderman.
Yeah, that's right.
Right to politician.
Oh, man, he's slick.
Come on, there's a no politician sign.
He get a run for mayor one day.
I think it comes from me. I'm the youngest of four. Kid. I have three older sisters, and so I've told people that I was trained to kind of handle things when people would ask me questions very diplomatically, because my sisters would be like, "Which one of us do you like the most? Which one of us is the prettiest?" or whatever. And so you have to learn how to handle. That's a loaded question.
That's super loaded. That got your political career started right there.
Yeah, absolutely. So I certainly was answering tough questions right from the get-go.
All right. Sorry, Chad. We only have a minute left for you, but no.
No. I'm used to it.
So obviously, you're the one that came to me about this whole thing,
so like
I know the purpose behind it. We know what.
Yeah,
but, were you a fan of podcasts that gave you this idea?
I listen to podcasts. I go to the gym or run or whatever, and so I always had the idea of maybe doing something, whatever. And then we had talked to you about it, and at the time, it would just matter if I find the money to do it,
Yeah, so let's talk about the sponsor.
So, when it kind of all came from the pennies for the parks, or what do we call coins for
Coins for
kids, or
kids.
is a tourism tax that we were looking to do to add a penny or 1% to your bill at your restaurant to fund park improvements. And so we felt that was a good idea. We kind of formed I guess it was a PAC essentially, and we were not successful in that. We lost that vote. We had to get 60%. And we didn't get it. Anyway, but during the campaign against that tax, there was a lot of false information, a lot of false statements made about where the money was going to go, how it was going to be spent. There was going to be, I think, the 10% tax and so forth. And so we after that was over with, we licked our wounds because I think we were supportive of that. We said, man, there's got to be a way to get information out to the people and just get information out there, educate them, and let them make a decision with the information. Because I think they made a decision during that election on bad information. They were scared into things that weren't true. And so I think we were on our way to the Alabama football game, weren't we, Ben? And I was like, hey, you want to do a podcast? I think I know a guy. We can put it together. And he's like, yeah, sure. Yeah. And so that's kind of how we got going. And there's a I guess a political action committee called People for a Better DeSoto County, which is helped fund some of our Coins for Kids campaign. And they had some revenue left, some money they had raised left. And I approached him and said, hey, would you be willing to, sponsor a season of this or whatever, of 10 episodes? And they said, certainly, sure. And so that's kind of where we got. And then we kind of started talking to you. I think that was about November, December of last year. And
so we ramped up discussions leading into the holidays.
Right.
So, we knew we wanted to do it. It was approved. So I'm very grateful for that foundation. Obviously, they're helping the community with the content that you're putting out there, but also they're helping a small business in here.
Yeah,
so,
and
really
really,
nice.
I think what their goal is to get the pennies for the parks is one thing, but also improving infrastructure and helping raise awareness of I-55. So if anybody hadn't heard, there's a website called drivingdesoto.org that you can go to and sign a petition about getting Interstate 55 improved, which is just one part. There's also Highway 51 and Highway 305 is also part of the long-term plan to do expansion. And so that's kind of their goal, their organization. And I think this is just an arm of that to get information out there. And so we talked about format, and Ben knows a lot of people. I know a lot of people, Mark and all those people you listed there are friends of mine and Ben's. And so we knew we could get people on to talk about, the school system, what a county supervisor does, what the tax assessor does.
Why we have so many Mexican restaurants.
Yeah, right. I got to give Ben
Seriously.
credit. Yeah, I got to give Ben credit for that. He came up with the title of that one. So
the episode with planning director Austin Cardosi, it's in the title.
That's right.
Yeah. So you flip through iTunes and find the podcast.
That's right.
We made it very clear which episode discusses the Mexican restaurants.
So I think we kind of have some fun with the titles of these things. But that's a question we get asked a lot. Why is there no? We joke about the Chick-fil-A, but why we have 5 Mexican restaurants and no Chick-fil-A or whatever? Or you want what's the chicken place you like?
Raising Cane's.
Raising Cane's,
That's a good one.
So
interesting. So let's talk about the format, like you said. It publishes every other Monday morning on all the digital platforms that you can think of. Apple, Spotify, Stitcher, Google Podcasts. It's every other Monday because it works in coordination with the board meetings, which are every other Tuesday, right?
Right.
So what we do is you have a board meeting on Tuesday. That Friday, Chad and Ben come to the studio with a guest, do an interview first, and then after that, you do a good 15 to 20-minute segment of what was covered at that week's board meeting,
right?
And just educating on everything that was discussed and future plans.
Sure.
And then but in editing, we flip the order.
The magic.
Yeah, this is where the expertly produced podcast, moniker comes in. But so when you click into an episode, you're going to hear Chad and Ben co-hosting without a guest and filling you in on the happenings of Hernando,
right.
and then breaking into a guest, and that's really fascinating too. I've learned a lot just sitting in the room
listening
that's great.
to your stuff. So
And
it's really cool.
I want to point out one thing. Ben and I do not make any revenue or anything from this podcast. This is strictly we basically donating our time.
Yep.
And now you're making money because you have expenses and things, but we not and never will. I think can I say that?
Yeah, I mean
we're never going to do this for money. So if anybody does want to sponsor the show, that's going to go to production costs and things like that. It's never going to go to me or Ben. So
the goal of the show, I think, is to provide as much information as possible to people, to be as transparent as possible, and to give people a glimpse of all the things that we consider when we're making these decisions. Because I think a lot of times, if you watch our meetings, there's not always a ton of discussion. Mm-hmm. There may be 3 or 4 minutes of discussion, but we're given a packet of information on Friday, and then we vote on things on Tuesday. And that huge packet, I mean, it's 300 or 400 pages of information that we're certainly not going to read at every meeting, because the meetings would take a day at that point. But we want people to understand that there's a lot of thought and consideration that goes into every vote that we have.
Yeah, to be a good producer, you all influenced me on finally stepping up and going to a board meeting.
Yeah,
I'd never done that before.
You must really be bored, man.
I find it fascinating.
Yeah, it is. It really is.
And, that ties in with the civics side of politics. I feel like there's a difference. There's civics and politics. I am interested in the civics side of it more now than ever. I'm on the board of directors for the chamber. That kind of kick-started my interest in how that all works. But it's not politics. But I don't know. I have a vote.
That's right.
The first time in my life, I actually have a vote for something.
You better be a registered voter now.
I mean, aside from our duty as citizens, but to be a part of an organization that has some say in how things are run and money's spent, and then working with you all, I was like, well, let's go to a board meeting. I mean, what's it going to take every other Tuesday? Spending an hour in there, and I found it fascinating. So I encourage anyone to just roll in and sit down and just, I'm a, fly on the wall, and I find it interesting.
Yeah, I think transparency is important. I think, we can go back, maybe 10, 12 years ago in the city of South Haven, where I think they lacked some transparency, and some people took advantage of the system there, and there were some misspent funds and stuff. And so we obviously we don't have that problem in Hernando, but I think it's just important to, just my personal opinion, I try to put everything, I post the agenda on my Facebook page, or actually on the Boardroom Facebook page.
Oh, we should mention that.
Yeah,
yes.
Please go to the Boardroom Facebook page and follow it if you're not. We put out a lot of information out there. We put our, I think just the last couple of times we've put the list of all the roads that are going to be paved this year. We put, I think, a picture of the roundabout that's probably, I think, our most popular podcast, our post was the roundabout design. I think it got shared on some other sites, some other pages, and really blew up. So
it's just another nice outlet that people
but
can trust to go to.
I think Ben and I think we agree on this, that transparency is the best policy. The more people know, the more they understand. I think the more they have, they don't think they're getting screwed by the man. That's what a lot of people think about government.
And also, what I like about the podcast, you may have already mentioned it here, but if not. You make it clear on the podcast that, yes, you're called the Boardroom. Yes, you're 2 aldermen. But this isn't like an alderman sanctioned thing. You guys are doing your own thing. And, from listening to all your stuff, you guys are really good at just giving the information and kind of putting that political edge to the side where you're not standing on a stump each episode. You guys are really just here to really just give it out there and give everyone an inside look of what's going on with the board and decisions being made.
We can't speak for the other board members. We're a board, we sit on a board of 7, and it takes 4 to do anything. So, they make their own decisions based on their own research and their own ideas and thought processes, and we just we put out what is possible, and we try to make the best decision we have with the information in front of us. Right. So, and
there's time Chad and I don't vote the same way every time either, So
you better start voting my way.
we've had different opinions on things, and it just shows you that you can give 7 people the exact same packet of information to make to make decisions on, and like it's very difficult to have unanimous decisions every single time. So there is always going to be some amount of disagreement on things, just because you can look at information differently, or it depends on what your set of values is, or kind of what you want to do organizationally. There's a lot of differences there.
And you put it out in Front Street at the board meetings as you're an audience member.
Yeah.
No one's shy to speak up and express their
well, just for an example, we had an issue. I think at the last meeting, a rezoning, a variance for a hotel on some property that was zoned commercial. I think in 2001, and a lot of people didn't realize that because they don't come to the meetings. They go back and look at the minutes, and so they had no idea that a 3-story hotel could have been built right in front of them.
Yeah, and 22 years ago.
Yeah, and so I think some people are frustrated with that, but. That's just the way it is. That's the way the system works, and so, I think at a national level, that's what's missing. You're either with them or against them. There's no compromise, right? And I think that's what's missing in our national politics, and maybe we can start a trend to get that. People start working together a little bit better.
Back to the podcast again. I'm trying to make this about me, folks. That's
the Boardroom Podcast.
But for real though, I want to go back to the word civics.
Yes.
So. We're going to have a producers meeting right now in front of the cameras, in front of the mics. I think it would be cool if we peppered in civics.
Okay.
And I'm looking at myself as an audience member because I slept through civics in high school. I just didn't care. But as I get older, I'm way fascinated with history and civics. I slept through all of that. So when it comes to civics, it's educational, and I didn't know how to vote in the chamber. I had to be taught how to vote in the chamber, and come to find out it's pretty similar to how you all vote.
Yeah, I'll probably use Robert Rules of Order probably.
But it'd be cool because we automatically assume our audience knows everything about how you all work. But I don't think that's really the case because you have one audience member here that's interested. So maybe we could start doing that too. How about that?
Yeah.
When you guys renew season 2, we'll do civic segments. How about that?
Well, you had a very good idea, Derek, about maybe having you on as on an episode and just kind of let you ask some questions about what is an alderman district, or what is a board of aldermen, things like that, just at the very basic level. And those are we had the opportunity to speak at Coach Bentley, that's right, Coach Bentley's government class about a month ago, and that was a good experience to kind of explain to them what the city Board of Aldermen does and so forth, and I think that's where the Mexican restaurant thing came from, wasn't it?
Yeah, a lot of them wanted to know why there's so many Mexican restaurants.
Yeah, I tell you, some of those kids had some tough questions, man. That had me sweating.
So, we always want people to ask the right questions when they're trying to decide who to vote on. They do their research. What's your platform? But there may be a lot of those people that don't understand the level and the hierarchy of how government works, like myself. And I'm talking broad, like alderman up.
Right.
That's what fascinates me. But, look, this has been great. I really appreciate y'all doing this with me. And we're going to be here next Friday.
That's
recording
right.
Your next, I can't promote. This is gonna publish after our next recording session.
Yeah,
but just so while we're here, who are some of the other people that you're looking to book?
You wanna mention your buddy?
Yeah, so we are trying to bring on the state auditor Shad White for a future episode, and have kind of like a verbal agreement to get that done. We don't have the date locked down just yet, but he and I knew each other back in our college days, and did some student government stuff together. So he'll be one that we'll be looking to get on there, and he's obviously been somebody that has held everyone accountable, from the most some of the most famous people in the state of Mississippi to just the people that are working at volunteer fire department, and they misuse funds. So he's a longtime friend of mine, so we're looking forward to have him on there.
Probably gonna have the parks director.
Yeah, our parks director, Jared Barkley, who's been with the city for a little over a year now, and we're excited to have him join us as well.
I don't have my list in front of me. I think we're going to have somebody from the police department or sheriff's department on there, talk about security, law enforcement. Then probably Lee Germany. We'll ask him to come.
Our public works director.
Public works director. And I think that would probably that's about season 1 there, and then we'll start working on season 2.
That's what I'm talking about. Season 2, let's go. Well, look, awesome. Please check out the Boardroom Podcast. The link will be in the description that will take you to
Absolutely.
Apple, Spotify. Also, go to Facebook and go to @the Boardroom.
The Boardroom Podcast.
The Boardroom Podcast, and that's where you can also you'll see promo clips from each episode where we highlight the guest, and it's hopefully we can keep building that because I think it serves a good purpose. So
I think we're getting good downloads, and the Facebook page is doing well. So.
5 episodes in as we record this, and your numbers are good. I can be really honest about that. I've produced over 100 podcasts, and 5 episodes in to have the numbers that you're getting, to be transparent, it's well over 100 an episode. Which is massive. I've produced my own podcast in the past that was lucky to get 5. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know how it is, but it goes back to the local, like the Real Hernando, breaking in locally and interviewing local
It's probably
people.
my mom listened to it 100 different times.
Yeah.
She texts me all the time. I love it. Now, she says I'm a little better at Ben, but my mom says.
She's 10% of the downloads, right?
I agree with her. Let's be honest.
So before we say goodbye, now let's talk to our audience because we want them to step up and help us. Help support the podcast, The Real Hernando, and doing that, helping to support you guys more in the Boardroom Podcast. So there's 5 easy ways to do that. Go to the website, therealhernando.com, and subscribe. There's a subscribe button up at the top right. All it's going to ask is for your email, and what it does is it emails you the new episode every other Tuesday. While you're in there, you can find all of our locations. So grab a link of an episode, this one in particular, and share that link. Open that page up, grab that URL, and share away. Post it on your Facebook. Email it to a friend that might be interested. Tap on our YouTube icon off our website. This is also video-based for anyone that only listens. We do the full episode on YouTube. Go ahead and subscribe to that channel. You follow our socials. We're on Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook. All 3 are @The Real Hernando. And if you could, go to iTunes, pop our podcast, give us a rating, give us a review. That goes a long way. All of that not only helps The Real Hernando, but obviously the more, the bigger The Real Hernando gets, the bigger and brighter the spotlight gets on people like yourself, in this community. So once again, go to therealhernando.com. Chad Wicker, Ben Piper, I appreciate y'all being here.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
All right, take care, y'all. Thank you.